Hello and welcome to The Well. I'm your host, Dr. Brennan Arm, Doctor of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, Chinese medicine herbalist, and founder-director of Lotus Integrative Medicine in Santa Monica, California. There's a wealth of health-related information out there, and I'm joined today by this wonderful group of integrative and holistic medical doctors and practitioners to share some of our favorite wellness tips. Please let me introduce you to Bianca Rodriguez, a holistic psychotherapist, Dr. Heath McAllister, a naturopathic doctor and registered herbalist, and Dr. Rob Krochmal, a medical doctor and a practicing physician who is board certified in family medicine, nutrition, and integrative and holistic medicine. So let's begin. Today's topic is tech addiction.
So I think this is a very relevant topic right now. In so many ways, COVID has forced people to interface with their devices more than they ever have. So for instance, I have 2 school-age children, and previously we really limited their access to devices like tablets and computers and so forth. And now it's kind of like, full board where they're doing school and homework on their computers. So they're literally staring at a screen for sometimes 6 to 8 hours a day. And so, what does that do? What is that going to do psychologically? That's a question for Bianca. Going forward, in terms of our kind of being accustomed to always be on technology. Like, what does that do? What is that going to do for this generation moving forward? Number one. Number two, what are the health impacts of being in front of a radiant screen for this much time? And number three, interfacing with other human beings, not face to face, but through a device. So I feel like there's a lot of psychological points to touch on there, and I won't steal your thunder, Bianca, but I will say from a health perspective, and this goes, even into like binge watching Netflix and other things, that if you're constantly bombarded with bright lights, it really does affect your melatonin production. And melatonin has a lot of implications, not only just for sleep, but also for women's cycling. There's a lot, I was at least taught, or it was suggested that the phases of the moon, can influence a woman's cycle. And that's probably why a woman's cycle is around 28 to 30 days, because that's the moon cycle, right? Literally, they call it the moon, your moon cycle. That's, in certain circles, people call that. So, having that light input at certain times, brighter and other times and darker at other times, is a regulatory mechanism for human beings. Now that we have electric lights, it's like willy-nilly. We can be bathed in radiant light at all times, and that is definitely going to affect us. From another health perspective, how much does having an electromagnetic frequency device very close to us, how much does that influence our health? I don't know that we know the answer to that, but there is a term that's thrown around called electrosmog. And I actually read a really fascinating paper on, does electrosmog actually impact certain things in your health, say like your vitamin D status? And they found positive associations that the more electrosmog you're exposed to, it probably does change the conformation of your vitamin D receptor, and therefore how much vitamin D actually gets to its end target and has a biologic effect in the body. So this is going to create a ripple. This is a stone thrown in a pond that's going to create ripples for years, for generations to come. This moment in time where we are now glued to our devices, we are going to see implications that are far-reaching. From health, psychology, from interfacing with other human beings and so forth. So I think there's a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think one of the points that you make is that we don't know, right, how this is going to affect us, emotionally, physically, spiritually, because we've never been in this place before, right? We're the first human cohort to ever be this connected to technology and to have all of these, these electric sort of resources available to us. So that's part of it. The other part of it is that, I do notice the addictive mechanism, the real addictive mechanism. And I have read some interesting articles, and there are some movements going on, partly in Silicon Valley about responsible development of devices because social media and technology, because it really does have this addictive device that when you go on Instagram or you go on Facebook and you see that somebody's liked something, that it does give you a hit of chemicals in your brain that feels good. And through my own experience, I have really tried to stay off, I primarily like Instagram as sort of my social media of choice. And I have somebody helping me with it, which has been really helpful for my business, because I don't have to go on it and do all of this sort of work anymore. And I try to just kind of go on once a day. But we were promoting a new course, and I spent this past month on there so much. And I notice now that when I'm sitting in stillness, or I'm waiting for my tea to brew, my instinct is like, let me just see what's going on there. Let me see what's going on in there. And I think we have to retrain ourselves. And I think this goes back to mindfulness, which I know we like talking about on here, a lot. We have to really become mindful to why are we going on there? What are we bored? Are we restless? Are we, is there a real reason to go on there? And that's whether it's Instagram. I know people who love to check the news, nonstop. Whatever you're doing on there, what is the function of it? And noticing if it feels like it's a compulsion, and a compulsion basically means you're doing something without thinking, and you're doing it without even really wanting to do it. And I think the more time we spend on it, I think the more reinforcement we get due to whatever the mechanisms that are hitting our brains, and giving us that, hitting that reward center in the brain. So yeah, for sure. I think it's just become such an easy way to check out. When growing up, it was like TV, or maybe video games, but now it's like it's in the palm of our hands. So I think we have to be even more diligent in creating space to do some of the other things that we can do to connect in a real way, right, with ourselves and with each other. And I know that's limited right now, but looking somebody in the eyes, having a conversation, having no phone time at the dinner table, asking someone to put their phone away in a session or in a meeting, I think is really helpful in making sure that we, recognize that being together and being together for reals is something that we still value.
Yeah, for sure. I've even noticed with my children, they are always wanting to, grab the iPad and play on it. And we've had a real struggle where, first in the morning they get up, they're looking for it, and we have to hide it, and they keep finding all our hiding spots. So we're running out of hiding spots. But you can see the addiction, so evident, not just in ourselves, but even in our children. And, how important it is. I mean, you can see the cause and effect when they're on the iPads and when they're playing, the games, or when they're doing, whatever tech thing they're doing. Their behavior changes so much, like the tantrums and the moodiness and the anger and the irritability and the depression. I mean, it's just so evident to me, that we have to be very cognizant of, certain times that we can give it to them, and really make a like a time frame throughout the day when it's okay to use a little bit, so they have some. And the same thing to us, maybe there's time that we can have, but the rest of it we shouldn't. Maybe it's better just to sit around and read a book, to actually sit down and feel a book and touch the pages and read the letters on the book, or go outside and do things outside in nature, like taking a hike and going to see a river, or going to the mountains, or making food together, or doing things together like that. So, it's been very obvious, the tech addiction in children and in myself and in my family and my friends. So it's definitely something that we're all working on to limit it and stay off all the media and stay off of that, and get more into personal connections with ourselves through meditation, or with, with each other.
I think those are all great and positive suggestions. And, while there's more questions than answers in a way right now, I think the data that is coming in is not good. And so we do have to, I think, on another positive note, the first step is awareness. And so fortunately, these questions are starting to be asked, and that's going to help to change our behavior. And I think we forget sometimes how new this technology is. And yet at the same time, we're sort of heading toward even our second decade of this. So it's kind of like the second generation. We as parents, in a way, Bianca, you mentioned TV. We were the TV generation, and maybe our parents didn't really have that so much. So that was something new that they didn't really know how to deal with. And I remember me being in front of the TV for hours at a time. And so now we're the first parents that are, this technology is new to us, and it's the first generation that's growing up with this technology. So so again, I think awareness is really the key. And these suggestions that you had, Brendan, just to, and you, Bianca, just be able to be aware of how this is affecting, and know there are other alternatives for us ways to spend our time, I think is really important.
And we lost Heath. I wonder if he went into the black hole.
He texted me. He texted me, said, my computer died. Perhaps his computer. He literally just texted me saying, my computer died.
Out.
Well, I got offended.
Then it's definitely true.
We still need computers, but
tech is you know, can really separate us. I guess maybe that's the bring us together and separate us. Oh, here we are. We're going to admit him back in. There he is. So Heath, I think tech technically kicked you off, huh?
Speaking of technology, my computer died.
Yeah. It's a metaphor.
And that's what Brendan said. It's a metaphor of how tech can separate us. See?
Well,
I did want to just speak to one of Bianca's points. If people haven't, and there's so many aspects of tech in terms of you know, the physical computer or the device, and then there's the social media aspect, which Bianca, you were really speaking to. If you haven't seen it, there's a great Netflix series, a video called The Social Dilemma, and it really talks about the addictive nature of social media and how that's intentional. They're intending to like occupy you, to possess you, to compel you to constantly pick up and look. And because your attention is so valuable to advertisers, like that is the commodity that they sell, is your attention. And so you know, everyone should be aware of that, and everyone should have times where they intentionally disconnect, because it is like a drug how it affects your brain. And so I just wanted to put that out there. Everyone in this day and age should watch The Social Dilemma.
Well, that's all the time we have today. If you have a topic you'd like to learn more about, let us know with a comment on social media. And also don't forget to subscribe to our The Well YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us, and please join us next time for more wellness tips. Remember, regardless of where we are, our resources in The Well are limitless.